Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to jump into some review items for the midterm coming up. Before I do some of those, I'll talk about the format of the midterm one more time for you. So let's jump right in. So for our midterm review, the format we're going to look at is essentially two major pieces to your midterm. There's going to be two design-based elements. The first one will be more of a redesign. So I'm going to give you some existing examples of a UI, and you're going to need to do things where we'll ask you to identify some examples of concepts or terms that you can identify in that UI, compare some features of that UI based on usability, and then also suggest some redesigns to that UI that are going to maximize some type of usability feature. So that will all be with an existing UI. And then we're going to have a design and creation aspect as well. So we're going to give you some sort of user testing or user interview data for you to do an analysis of that, kind of synthesize what kind of takeaways you'd have, very much like you've done in your group projects. And also, like you've done in your group projects, you're going to have to apply some design principles to a scenario. So I'll provide a scenario, and your job is going to be to work with it in order to do some design sketches or storyboarding to apply what we've talked about. Again, really, this is your sort of GR3 part of what we're asking you to do in class. So I definitely encourage you that if you weren't super involved for your groups in some of these aspects, you might really want to go back through and understand exactly what was asked for each of these types of things. Because one of the elements that I'm measuring here is how well you were able to participate and follow along with that process. Even though it was a group activity, I need you to be individually accountable to be able to do these sort of things, right? So that's how the exam will go. Time-wise, you're going to see Wednesday morning, I will release the exam at 9 a.m. And then the exam is going to be due by the end of the day, Friday at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so you essentially get 3 full days to work on this. And it hopefully, I mean, it really shouldn't take you 3 full days to do this, but I don't want this to be a time pressure sort of thing. I want it just to be an opportunity to really show what it is that you've learned and know. And if you run into some things that you don't quite remember or you didn't quite get at the time, absolutely go back. This is 100% open book, open notes, open Google, whatever it is you need to do. You can use resources to help you answer these questions. There's no monitoring of what you do on this sort of stuff. You do need to do it yourself and individually, but you can use just about any other resource that you want to use to be able to do these things. I'm looking for you to apply what it is we're talking about in class and to be creative and thoughtful about those applications in unique and individual sort of ways. So let me know if you have some questions about the format. Again, Piazza is the place to do that. But hopefully it'll be relatively straightforward on how we're going to ask you to do this midterm. So to prepare for the midterm, you might want to start with an outline of some of the readings so that as you are walking through and trying to apply these design principles or interpret things, you'll know where they exist in the readings, the different things or concepts that you're trying to remember. You can just bounce yourself right back to the reading to do it. It'll really help keep things fresh. Also really recommend that you have everything downloaded and ready to go. You don't necessarily want to wait on Google Docs and if there's any issues there. So I'd recommend you download all those things if you can. Like I said, this is completely open notebook, whatever. So having those ready is fine. And that also goes for the PowerPoints and the readings from class. So those are things that you are welcome to use. So I would recommend that you download those things, have them ready, and really just kind of go back through all the course materials one more time, reacclimate yourself to some of these ideas because it's been a couple of months now that we've been grappling with them. And that's all going to make it much easier on you once you do get the exam. Okay. So let's do a few practice. I have some multiple choice ones set up here, and the idea of these multiple choice questions is just to give you a chance to stop and think about some of these concepts. And they're all, while they're multiple choice, they're application type of things. So you'll be asked to do these kind of things. I'm providing some multiple choice answers here just to kind of help you jog the memory because you may not have thought about some of this stuff in a while. So follow along. I'm going to present a problem. I will pause it after I show you what the answers look like. And I also want you to think about why it's a correct answer. I will pause for a few seconds in my video. You can pause it for as long as you need to answer. And then I will just start up again and sort of explain some reasoning behind the answers. Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's take a look at this UI and think about what type of a UI is demonstrated in the picture here. Is it a command line? Is it a menus and forms type? Is it direct manipulation? Or is it a speech dialog? So you can go ahead and pause your video. I'm just going to kind of freeze myself for a few seconds here, and then we can talk about the answer. So go ahead and pause. And okay, welcome back. I hope you felt that direct manipulation was the type of UI that we're dealing with here. The clue is really in that you can see the icon moving here, and so that you're able to kind of grab an actual sort of physical representation of this file and move it to a new representation of a location. Those are direct manipulation types of a UI. A menu and form would be represented from this file, home, share, view things. These are the menus and forms. And a command line would be more like a Linux style kind of way of doing that. And then speech dialogue, obviously, that's not happening here. Although I guess they want you to use Cortana, but I don't know, don't feel it. So that's the why behind this, okay? Great, let's tackle another question here. Here is practice reasoning number 2. So take a look at this UI feature. Spoiler, that's my actual login screen. Is this being used to prevent, or I should say, what type of error prevention is being used below? Are we trying to prevent capture errors, description errors, mode errors, or lapse errors? And you can go ahead and pause. Okay, great. So the clue for this one is really this little bit down here. You can see where it says the caps lock is on. And this feature is designed to help prevent mode errors. The idea is that when you are entering in your passwords, they're all case sensitive. And so if you have a caps lock on, you might accidentally be in that mode without realizing it. And since you won't see it showing up on the screen here because they block out what the actual information is, that could really cause a lot of mode errors. So this is a really very, very commonly used element for mode error protection. Okay, so that's how I knew. Hopefully that came to you too, but if not, go ahead and take a look at some of the notes as you're studying for the midterm. Let's do another one, practice reasoning number 3. So let's take a look at this menu here. And what 2 usability issues are addressed in this menu? Learnability and efficiency, learnability and safety, efficiency and safety, and there's not really another pair, so I won't even pretend to throw a D in here, aren't you? So which of these 3 pairs do you think are usability issues addressed in this menu? Go ahead and pause. Okay, so honestly, you could probably make a case for any one of these things, and so it's really going to be about the reasoning that you make. So let's think of it from each different perspective. From a learnability perspective, the nice aspect that happens here is that when you click on the file menu or any one of these menu items, you're given a list in sort of grouped settings that kind of help you make decisions about things. So print area, print preview, print page setup, these all existing in this sort of grouped area, although this would probably really fall under chunking and be more of an efficiency kind of an approach. It does sort of help that we do that for some learnability. Learnability is probably the weakest one of all the ones. If I were answering this on a test, I would probably go with, well, no, safety is pretty weak too. So, but yeah, learnability wise, I think these chunking, the way they sort of organize it is good. And that they make it so you don't have to remember these things, that this is gives you the actual options of what to do with these things. Efficiency-wise, I think is the strongest of all these. There's a couple different examples, but the one I'll highlight is that it actually shows you the shortcuts that you can use for some of these options, which also plays into some of the learnability as well, so that you are displaying what the shortcuts are instead of actually having to make people remember what those shortcuts are. It's definitely a strength for learnability. Safety, I guess I actually don't see too many issues here that we put together for safety. And in fact, safety, that actually may be the weakest one here, because you do have some slip errors that could kind of happen because you have similar looking things, save as, save workspace. So you might accidentally do the wrong one, which I've definitely done and can be problematic because this is one error that's actually kind of tough to undo. That if you've been working on something and you want to keep the old document and then save the changes as something new, you need to do save as. And I have definitely had a little slip where I hit the save button, and that loses all the information from the previous document. So this is actually a kind of critical error that they haven't really addressed in the Microsoft world. And this is where things like GitHub people love, because then they have the time machine sort of versions where you can kind of go back through version control and fix even those kind of problems. So I think learnability and efficiency is probably the answer here, because safety is actually not really taken well care of. Okay, let's look at number 4. In number 4, I want you to think about this problem. A developer wants to illustrate volume level on an online music player. What visual variable should they use to show the volume? Is it hue, shape, position, or size? Go ahead and pause. Great. So there's a couple of different ways that we could think about this. I want you to go back into your notes when we talked about the graphic design to really get into these. And we are going to pause the answers here, because I want to see you actually include this in part of the work that you're doing here. So you can post some answers to this one in Piazza. It's not an official in-class assignment, but I want to bring your eyes back to that document so that you don't just get the answers here. This is what I would do if we were live in a lecture right now. I would not give you the answer. I'd force you all to go get it and write it down and share with a partner kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to do in this question. And hopefully that's not too irritating. If it is, let me know. I'll stop doing it. But I'm going to give that a try. Speaking of which, we are going to do an in-class assignment then to finish out this video. And what I'd like for you to do is to create your own multiple choice question. So one multiple choice question where you're going to come up with some sort of question that hopefully isn't just a look up the answer kind of question, that makes people think and apply these ideas. Those are the best questions. You need to include at least one image or visual along with your question. And you need to give 4 answer choices where the wrong answers there are really reasonable, that somebody might actually answer it that way. Okay? So you're going to give the answer to that question in the notes section, and that is going to be something where you're going to post your question into our class slides. There's a link here that I will post onto Blackboard and to Piazza. When you put them on the class slides, the question itself should go in the main slide, and then your answer should go down in the bottom bar for comments or notes, I should say. That way we can share this with other people in the class and have a bit of a way to kind of review by creating, I'm sort of crowdsourcing here a little bit, by creating more review items for you all to look at. So that's where I'm going to pause for now. We're going to do one more video of some more review questions with application kind of things. These will be more open-ended rather than multiple choice, but I'm going to do that same sort of format and give you a chance to kind of pause, work out your answers, and that sort of thing. So thanks for following along on these ones. I will see you in the next video. Thanks.